welcome. I'm Nidhi Kumar, and we make an honest endeavor today to develop the scientific temper of our society by discussing the science behind the novel material used for the degradation of recalcitrant organic pollutants that are really tough to get rid of, and further applications in cost effective hydrogen generation useful for hydrogen fueled vehicles. Our focus today, friends, is science behind invention of such novel materials. These materials are quite novel and have diverse applications, from degrading pollutants to hydrogen generation. Both applications are the need of the hour. The question that we are asking, therefore, is how can we provide clean water and cheap energy and clean energy to all? Over the past few decades, the revolutionary growth in the industry setups has inflicted an imbalance in the ecosystem. The large number of industries such as paper, textile, pesticide, medicinal laboratories, etc., use tons of fresh water for dyeing the clothes, paper, and various other purposes, due to which a massive amount of untreated water gets dumped directly in the main water streams. And to overcome such shortcomings, a highly effective green technique is required to disintegrate the toxic contaminants either completely or convert them into non-hazardous substances. Green technology can also be used to produce green energy. But be it clean water or clean energy, the magic lies in the development of this new material. Joining me on the program to discuss this further, we have with us two very eminent panelists. I would like to welcome today Dr. Asima Garg, a very eminent faculty at Amity University, and Dr. Praveen P. Ingole, who's at IIT Delhi. Thank you so much for joining us today to discuss this huge impact on clean water and clean energy. I'll begin with you, Dr. Seema. How would you like to encapsulate clean water? How would you like to perhaps, define it?
Actually, water is considered to be one of the most precious natural resource on earth, and it is beneficial for all living beings. 1/3 of the population suffers shortage of fresh water, and 1 billion people have no direct access to clean drinking water. So, there are many techniques which are used to treat the wastewater, because as you have already told and correctly said, that industries directly dump the water in the mainstream, and this causes acute problems, and these problems are affecting the body of the human being, like kidney, liver, heart, brain, everything, this water damage of the human body. So to solve the problem, industry should strictly follow the environmental regulations, and before disposal of the wastewater, they should check, is this the population free area or not. So industry should think before dumping the water anywhere, and there are many techniques for treating the water.
Oh, you've come up with a lovely, green new technique. We'll talk about that later. But first, let me ask Dr. Praveen, how would you like to define clean energy, sir?
So this clean energy is actually the energy without the emission of certain pollutants like carbon dioxide that we know is a greenhouse gas. So the idea is shifting from the carbon economy, which is based on petrol and the gasoline and the other petroleum products, and shifting the focus from this carbon to the hydrogen economy. So where the hydrogen can be used as a fuel for the hydrogen fueled vehicles, and that will be generating no carbon containing products, side products like carbon dioxide, any other thing. It will generate only the water, which is the side product and which is not anyway harmful. So that is the idea of the clean energy.
That is the synthesis of what he's saying. Actually, if we even talk on a normal basis today, again, we are the toxic capital of the world, if we even go as air is concerned. So I think the entire energy system, like you said, needs to be re-looked at and reimagined. There is a buzz on green chemistry, Dr. Seema, as we talk. And how can we look at, materials to help meet the need for clean water?
It's a very nice question and need of hour also. So I will say there have been many techniques, conventional techniques to treat the wastewater. In that, if we discuss about physical methods, chemical methods, and biological methods. But if we see, these all methods do not solve the problem of wastewater degradation, treatment and pollutant degradation. So if we talk first about the physical methods, there are adsorption method in that, air stripping method in that, and solidification. So in solidification, just pollutant converts to the solid phase, then this causes another problem to the water. And another thing, adsorption techniques. So generally adsorption membranes are used to solve the problem. So adsorption membranes just absorb the contaminant, but at the time of regeneration they cause secondary pollutant. So this is the phase transformation only. And if we talk about air stripping, this just remove the volatile impurities from the water. So in all, if you see, there is no degradation of the pollutant, but they cause secondary pollutant. If we go for chemical processes, these are chlorination, ozonation, and incineration also. These are generally used. But in these processes, if you see chlorination, ozonation, these oxidize the impurity, and as a disinfectant they work. But in both cases, byproducts are generated. These are carcinogenic. Like in chlorination, chlorinated products are generated. In ozonation, if bromide ion are there, brominated products, and these are very harmful for the human body. And in incineration, they are not again degrading the pollutants, but they just cause the problem of the sludge. So this is the not any process which we will see this is degrading the pollutant. And in third process, biological treatment process. So these degrade the pollutant, but these are very slow processes. In fact, if process is not controlled, they produce toxic byproducts, and this means these are more harmful than the primary parent contaminant. So this is the major
second
problem.
pollutants list is even more harmful.
So this time, green technique is required to disintegrate the contaminants. So if we talk about the green chemistry, this photocatalysis is in the green chemistry. So photocatalysis have many advantages. First of all, this only needs solar radiation for the activating material.
Correct.
So it needs only oxygen, available oxygen, which is present in the atmosphere. Third thing, then this degrade the pollutant, then no harmful byproducts are generated, but all are environmentally friendly. Other thing is, it is inert material, stable material, economic material, and reusable material.
Absolutely. Like she said, green economy, hydrogen economy.
So these are
I'd like to ask you now to elaborate more on the technology of generating hydrogen from water, or water splitting as we can call it.
Yeah, so if I put it in a very simple words, so water splitting is the process by which you break the water into its constituent elements. And the constituent elements, we know, it's the hydrogen and the oxygen. So if I break the bond between HOOH, and if I generate the oxygen gas and the hydrogen gas, this is the simple way. I mean, it appears very simple, but of course, to do this, you need a lot of energy. And the additional energy has to be supplied, right? So if I remember correctly, it requires more than 120 kilocalories per mole to break this one bond.
Oh.
Yeah. So it requires a very high energy. So that is, although it appears to be simple, but it is not. Now, the technology that we are trying to develop, as rightly Dr. Seema has said, we are trying to use the green materials, the nanomaterials which are made by the green synthesis protocols. And we are trying to use the solar light the same way she is using for the degradation of the pollutants. So the idea is similar to that one, but of course we have to play with the thermodynamics and the kinetics of the different processes that will take place on the surface of these materials.
Okay. So on that note, we are going in for a short break. When we come back, we'll talk more about thermodynamics and about how to purify water further and use clean energy.
विज्ञान तथा प्रौद्योगिकी के प्रति लोगों की रुचि जगाने के उद्देश्य से साल 2019 में इंडिया साइंस चैनल की शुरुआत की गई। विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी विभाग द्वारा शुरू किया गया इंटरनेट आधारित ये विज्ञान वेब चैनल विभाग के स्वायत्त संस्थान विज्ञान प्रसार द्वारा संचालित किया जा रहा है। इस चैनल पर विज्ञान पर आधारित डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज, ताज़ा विषयों पर स्टूडियो चर्चा, साक्षात्कार और हर आयु वर्ग को आकर्षित करने वाली विज्ञान लघु फिल्में और साप्ताहिक कार्यक्रम प्रसारित किए जा रहे हैं। सोशल मीडिया और इंटरनेट की पहुंच आज हर जगह, हर व्यक्ति तक है। ऐसे में देश में वैज्ञानिक चेतना के प्रसार के लिए ये माध्यम सबसे उपयुक्त कहा जा सकता है।
Welcome back, and we're talking about the science of materials and two existing applications in clean environment and clean fuel. And with us, we have two very esteemed panelists, Dr. Seema Garg and Dr. Praveen. Just before the break, we spoke a little bit about how to, have clean energy, and you spoke about the oxygen process. Would you like to clarify further on thermodynamics, as you mentioned?
More than thermodynamics, that is the kinetics of the process. So the thermodynamics will tell you this much energy is required to break the bond so that you get the hydrogen or oxygen. But the kinetically, so most of the materials that are available, they required extra energy than it would be demanded by the thermodynamics. So thermodynamics will tell me this much energy is required. But the kinetic, it tells me if you want to generate the hydrogen at a particular rate, and especially if you are doing it on a commercial scale for the industry processes, you need more and more hydrogen or oxygen to be generated, right? And that process, if it is sluggish, if it is kinetically not very fast, then that generation will not be faster, right? So you need to have the catalyst materials that can produce this hydrogen from water at a minimum expenses of the energies, the additional energies. So that is what we are, and the phenomenon or the process we call water splitting, and the additional energy that is required we call the over potential.
How nice, very nice. Very nicely put, and very understanding, developing process this is. So Dr. Seema, here I'd like to ask you, your research is really, really very interesting. Material put in wastewater, which you put, and, it gets cleaned, and it doesn't seem to be some kind of wondrous or magic, but these materials do have that kind of magic. Could you extrapolate more?
Surely, it's also a very nice question, because how does it work? It looks like a magic. So I will explain this. In this, what happens actually when light is irradiated on the material, that light, just solar light. So the material gets activated. But in this, that energy, actually material has some band gap, valence band and conduction band in between the gap. So that is band gap. So according to the band energy, the light which is irradiated
Percolates
should have
inside,
more energy than this band gap. So when the light is irradiated, the electrons and holes are separated, and these electrons and holes, because when electron will go from valence band to conduction band, their hole will be there in valence band.
Correct.
So these electrons and holes react with the water and available oxygen in the atmosphere, and they form superoxide ion free radical and OH free radical. So these holes, superoxide ion free radical and OH free radical, all are responsible for degrading the pollutants. So this is main thing. And material is of two types that works as a photocatalyst in the literature also. So it is UV active material as well visible active material. So that material which is UV active, they have more than 3 electron volt band gap. But those material which have lower band gap, less than 3 electron volt, they are visible active material because they need lower energy than the UV active material. So these are the things. If material is having lower band gap, it will be excited by the visible light only, and visible light is 44 to 46% in the solar energy, but UV light is only 4%. So it confines the activity of the UV active materials.
How nicely put. I mean, we do understand the process. Dr. Praveen, is this technology very new, and what is the existing way of generating hydrogen? What do you think this technology would be more advantageous to society?
Oh yeah, that's a nice question. So the technology of using hydrogen as a hydrogen fuel cells is not very new. Like in 1800s, people used to use hydrogen energy for lighting the lamps, street lamps. And then NASA, they also have used hydrogen fuel cell technology in the space shuttles. Like the important point is that when they plan the longer duration space missions, when the spacecraft is in the orbiter, it will be staying there for more than 8 days or 10 days.
Correct.
And what is the source of energy over there? The people were thought of using the batteries, but batteries are very heavy, and you cannot take the batteries to the space, right? That was one of the solutions. Second solution was, can we use the solar panels or the solar energy? At that time, it was also an major obstacle that solar panels were not that effective. The solar energy was not that efficient that we have today, right? So it was out of the question because it was very heavy. Taking these energy resources into the space was very, very difficult. So what NASA scientists did, they used the hydrogen and the oxygen gases. Fortunately, they were carrying with them. So they have plenty of H2 and the O2 gases. They used a reactor to mix the hydrogen and oxygen gas, and they generated the energy which is required and which was used by them to run this orbiter. And the most important thing is the side product of this reaction is water. And they are using water for the drinking
H2O.
purpose.
It becomes
everywhere,
Yeah.
H2
So
and O2
the side product is H2O, which the people are using for drinking, right? So now that was the beginning. Actually, that was the beginning. But that time, since hydrogen fuel cell that was the new technology, and it was very, very costly. So the common people cannot afford it.
But
Certainly.
perhaps we'd have to think of these kind of innovations and these kind of measures to look at, shortages of water also later. Dr. Seema, I'd like to ask you, these materials look very efficient. Is there any scope for further improvement or further enhancing, the potential of this photocatalytic material?
Actually, what happens? I have talked about the visible active material, and they have lower band gap. So actually, in this case, electron and holes can easily recombine. So when electron and holes will recombine, then photocatalytic efficiency will be stopped actually. And it depends how much electron and holes are available. According to that, photocatalyst will work. So for if we see the visible active material, in that bismuth based materials we have used in our research also, and this is very efficient material because they have layered structure. So because of their layered structure, bismuth oxide ions interleaved by double slabs of halogen ions, and because of space is there, so they induce dipoles.
Correct.
And because of that, they inhibit the recombination of electron and hole pairs. So this is the first advantage of bismuth based material because of their layered structure. Other thing, to improve the efficiency, because if more holes and electrons are there, efficiency will be automatically better. So several strategies can be adopted to enhance the activity. So for that, number one, composites can be formed. So if composites are there, then the chances of recombination gets reduced, and in that multiple heterojunction can be formed, and double, and depends. And other thing, if crystal defects can be there or any impurity is added in that by the doping procedure, like noble metal can be added, so they also inhibit the recombination. Other, if oxygen vacancies are created. So these all processes, there are many processes, but these processes I have already used in my lab. But in these oxygen vacancies, what happens that we have to give the temperature to synthesize the material. So in that we have to see how much temperature this material can bear to form. So otherwise it will be degraded, then other problem will be started. So we have to, we can
look at all these norms before you make a decision.
And
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is the thing.
Dr. Praveen, tell me, what is the current status of technology for generating hydrogen from water? How do you look at that whole, encapsulate that technology for me?
So before that, I just want to add into
Please.
the last question. So what are the different technologies right now that are used for generation of the hydrogen? So the most important and the majorly what is known as the steam methane reforming. So what happens in steam methane reforming is that you have the steam, water steam, and the methane. You mixed it under very high pressure and the high temperature, and the product is carbon monoxide. Then carbon monoxide, because you want to generate more of the hydrogen, then it is also further treated with the water, and it reacts with water and makes the carbon dioxide. So ultimately what you see is the carbon dioxide is the byproduct. Okay, so you are again you have to deal with the removal of the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere.
Correct.
The technology that we are talking now is splitting the water into hydrogen and oxygen gases using the electricity. So electricity, well, then you will say the electricity is again you require to generate the electricity. You will be using the fossil fuels or some other methods. So we are targeting this question in two different ways. One way, we want to use the renewable energies. Why not use solar energy or the wind energy?
I was coming to that, yeah.
Okay. And the second way, why we are trying to use the photoactive materials, Dr. Seema has said. So why not to use the photoactive material that will do the double role, right? Dual role. So it will absorb the light, as well as if I have the catalytic sites on the surface, it can split water into hydrogen and the oxygen. So there are, let me add one more thing. So there are different metals and metallic materials like the platinum, which is very costly, but the most efficient so far for splitting the hydrogen and the oxygen. Now, this is considered a state-of-the-art material. Now, we want to go away with the platinum simply because of it's highly costly, right? We want to develop the materials which are low-cost materials and which are produced in a greener way, as Dr. Seema is making some of the materials.
Correct. So I think it makes more sense to go in for solar and renewable energy. You spoke of batteries, you spoke of generating water from electricity as well and from solar as well. We'll look at some other few things, but here it's important. We're going in for a short break. Stay tuned. When we come back, we'll talk more on clean energy, water splitting, and on how challenging it is to work with these products.
विज्ञान तथा प्रौद्योगिकी के प्रति लोगों की रुचि जगाने के उद्देश्य से साल 2019 में इंडिया साइंस चैनल की शुरुआत की गई। विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी विभाग द्वारा शुरू किया गया इंटरनेट आधारित ये विज्ञान वेब चैनल विभाग के स्वायत्त संस्थान विज्ञान प्रसार द्वारा संचालित किया जा रहा है। इस चैनल पर विज्ञान पर आधारित डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज, ताज़ा विषयों पर स्टूडियो चर्चा, साक्षात्कार और हर आयु वर्ग को आकर्षित करने वाली विज्ञान लघु फिल्में और साप्ताहिक कार्यक्रम प्रसारित किए जा रहे हैं। सोशल मीडिया और इंटरनेट की पहुंच आज हर जगह, हर व्यक्ति तक है। ऐसे में देश में वैज्ञानिक चेतना के प्रसार के लिए ये माध्यम सबसे उपयुक्त कहा जा सकता है।
Welcome back, and we are in conversation with Dr. Seema Garg and Dr. Praveen from IIT, and we are looking at a whole new concept and canvas of clean energy and clean water. So Dr. Seema, I'd like to now ask you how challenging it is to work with these photocatalytic materials, especially keeping in view that they are very small, and how does one overcome, these kind of challenges?
You're right, because these material are basically micro range or nano range. So it is very difficult to recover the material after solving the water problem. So for that, if any substrate can be used to immobilize the material or impregnate the material, then it can be really beneficial for anyone, and then it can be used easily, and there will not be problem of losing the material also, because sometimes every time when we centrifuge the material, we lose the material. So this is, and manpower also will be reduced for that. So for that, we have worked for activated carbon block and ceramic fiber. So in the ceramic fiber, if we will see, this is the material on which bismuth oxyhalides have been immobilized, and this material is having actually alumina based. So this absorbs the energy, and when it absorbs the energy, it transfers the energy to the material. So this solves two problems. One is the recombination and other is the recovery problem. So two problems can be solved by the immobilization on ceramic fiber. And it is actually the material directly we dip in the water. When we have prepared in the combination chloride, bromide, iodide, then it gives the efficiency more. So, and if we talk about the activated carbon block, activated carbon block is very successful technique which we have designed also in our lab, and that is prototype which has been prepared. And what we did in that activated carbon block, in that material has been impregnated, and we have to pass the water through the prototype, and when it comes out, it is clean water. So this is the technique we have designed.
And on that note, Dr. Praveen, I'd like to ask you, are these materials the same that she's been using for wastewater that you also, take care of and enhance further for clean energy?
Yeah. So rightly pointed out. So as Dr. Seema has mentioned about the different mechanisms, how this light has been taken from the solar radiations and is used to generate the electron and hole pairs, right? So simply, if I put in the similar way, so we have the electrons in the conduction band. By shining the light, you take the electron from the valence band to the conduction band. Now, depending upon the thermodynamics, again, thermodynamics is very important over here. So, the energy level of the electrons, it can be used for several purposes. One, if the hydrogen evolution reaction potential is in the same range, that electron can be transferred over there. And then you have the hydrogen evolution reaction, that is the hydrogen generation reaction. On the other side, what we have is the hole in the valence band. Again, the water can undergo two different processes. One is the hydrogen evolution. The second one is the oxygen evolution. Ultimate goal is to generate the hydrogen or oxygen, to split the water, right? So essentially, these are the similar materials. We do work on such materials in our laboratory in collaboration with Dr. Seema and few other colleagues from IIT Delhi and some other institutions. So these are essentially the same materials that Seema, but I must add over here is that the materials that Dr. Seema has prepared and the one we have used in collaboration with her, they have been very promising materials as of now, amongst the materials that we have studied so far. Most importantly, they were synthesized with the green method, so following the green chemistry norms, and they were highly photoactive, okay, as compared to the other materials. So to answer the question, yes, these are the similar materials that we are using.
Dr. Seema, here I would like to implore you to elaborate more on the green technology that you use and the green calcikrants that you use and how you do this entire process to take the study further. Because every time when you experiment, there must be a new thought coming in, a new dimension coming up to all these prototypes as well.
As I have seen that water is getting polluted day by day because of the industries. They are just dumping the water in the mainstream. So I have seen the industries like pesticides, antibiotics and textile industries, they are dumping directly the water, wastewater in the mainstream. So to solve the problem, the idea came to my mind, if any green technique can be used to solve the problem, that will be the solution for not only the India but for all over world. So for that time I thought photocatalysis is a process which can be used to solve this issue, and moreover I have to adopt that method which should be novel and green. Means like I have to reduce the use of hazardous chemical in my method. So I did this. I used plant extract to synthesize the material in place of solvents, ethylene alcohol, ethylene glycol and CTAB. So many solvent I replaced. I used plant extract and I found that results are many times better.
Here, I'd like to stop you here.
Yes.
Plant extracts, wonderful. That's what we want to know. If it's not divulging something from your research that you do not want to share, please amplify for us. What plant extracts are you talking about for the knowledge of the common person? And do you actually go to those sites and see them, with the dump waste and all of that, and try and understand what the technology is, why they're wasting it? How did you come to this conclusion? Because I would like every Indian to hear this.
Actually, what happens, these plant extract have many phytochemicals. So these phytochemicals, they form the complex with my bismuth ion, and they make the material in nano range. So because of the surface area and higher surface area, lower band gap, and recombination problem was solved in it. So this did excellent work in my research to improve the photocatalytic material. So this is green material which has solved the problem of the water pollution. So if industries can use this prototype before dumping the water directly into the mainstream, then the water can be free from the pollutants.
Which is the area exactly that you worked on? We would like a few examples from both of you. Could you, let us know the area that you worked?
So actually, I have worked on various plants, not only on one plants. I have used neem extract, I have used tulsi extract, I have used ashoka extract. So many plant extract I have used, and I have seen that in all, mainly many constituents are there, phytochemicals are there. They are working to improve the efficiency because these work as a sensitizer also. So this research I have patented also because this was the novel research, and by the this is the green technology photocatalysis, and moreover I have modified the method in the simpler way. And this is having great result to treat the water as well for hydrogen generation, for carbon dioxide reduction. So this is the
this
further
is what we
research.
need in future.
Yes.
So tell us about hydrogen economy and how you look at it. You've used this word many times.
Right.
So clean energy, petro energy into that hydrogen economy. How does that whole ball game come in?
So at the beginning, I did mention about the carbon economy and the hydrogen economy. And the hydrogen economy is the economy, the fuels where the hydrogen will be used, right? So if you remember recently, there was a news, CSIR, NCL in collaboration with some other institutions, they have a trial run of the hydrogen fueled car. That is the first car that is being made in the India. Well, so if you ask me hydrogen economy, it is already in the commercialized form. You must have heard about several companies like Hyundai, Toyota. They have already launched the hydrogen fueled vehicles. They are commercially available. And our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, he has also shown a very great interest in such kind of vehicles which are using the hydrogen fuel. If I remember correctly, in the 2018, he had an expo on the hydrogen fueled vehicles.
Correct.
Yeah, and he interacted with, if I remember correctly, it was Hyundai's model. And he himself actually, I think he test drive the model. Right. So that is the hydrogen economy. That is the current status. But yes, so if the hydrogen that is being used, now we have to think in that direction. How would you get the hydrogen? I earlier mentioned two different techniques, steam methane reforming, but it leads to carbon dioxide ultimately. And it is also a very high energy consuming process. And moreover, if you want to make the hydrogen, you have to be dependent on a big sites. You have to make a big industry at one part of the country or at some part of the countries. And then you have to transport the hydrogen from that location to different fuel stations, right? Which is also a very difficult task, right? So if we use hydrogen generation from water splitting, and for which you require very small prototypes and you can generate a lot of hydrogen, right? So the hydrogen generation or production can be made on site on demand. Whenever you want, you just switch on the prototype and make the hydrogen, right? So that is what very important aspect of the
Absolutely.
hydrogen.
And I think we need to talk more about this and get more people to do this kind of absolute magnanimous work that you're both doing. And in the end, I'd like to say, of course, the possibility of affordable hydrogen economy is still in the developing stage. And there is still a lot to do in order to achieve the ever-increasing energy demand day by day with the ongoing population growth and industrialization. I'd like to thank both of you for coming for this program and sharing such wonderful insights with us and all about hydrogen economy and water splitting. Thank you so much for joining us. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.
And to all our viewers, let us know more about the clean fuel and clean environment and let us implement each of it in our lives. We are at the forefront of bringing in scientific change. There is a huge amount of work that is happening in the area of material science, which will truly hold the potential to transform the world and make things affordable and simultaneously take care of our environment. Let us work together to make an Atmanirbhar Bharat and a Swachh Bharat. On that note, it's a wrap on this program. Many thanks for watching. Namaskar.